Well, you just said it. If you like cars or motorcycles or something, and you see a change that you know is going to be successful, because every day you go on the internet and you look at cars or you read magazines about cars, etc. When you see something that you know is going to be successful, do some research and make an investment. And then please send me an email so I can do some research too, as well. But that's how you become successful. You wait until you find something that you understand and you know is going to be successful, and then you invest. And if something goes wrong, you will know what to do. If you are investing in what you understand and you know. And if something goes right, you will know what to do. Bro, David, I know I'm the world's worst market timer. I've learned that in my investing career. No matter what I want to invest in, I know my timing is going to be bad. I have learned to wait after I decide there's something I want to invest in. But even then, my timing is usually bad. I am very bad at market timing. Some people are great. I've known people who they don't really know a whole lot about what they're investing in, but they are fantastic market timers. They are great short-term traders. And if they own something for a week, it's a long time, but they're so good at it. They're so good at short-term trading, and they can be successful. I'm terrible. I'm horrible at short-term trading. So I am not good at market timing. I'm the wrong person to ask. Well, if I've had success in my life, it's finding things that are depressed. It usually means they're ignored, because if something's ignored, it's usually not expensive. It's usually depressed. And finding change. If I can find something that is cheap, where there's enormous positive change taking place, and I can make an investment, I usually am successful in that investment. It often takes a while. As I told you, my timing is not very good usually, but I have learned to wait and then make an investment. And then, I am lazy, David, because then if you find investments like that, you can own them for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. For me, that's a great way to invest. But as I said, I know people who owning something for 3 days is long term. So there are different kinds of investors in the world. The cheapest asset class I know are commodities. I mean, bonds are certainly the highest they've been in history. Property in many places is in a bubble. Go to New Zealand or Korea or places, you see bubbles in property in lots of places. In many parts of America, some stocks have been, Apple and Amazon and Tencent and Samsung, those stocks were going up all the time. So bubbles were developing in those stocks. The only thing I know that's still cheaper than commodities, I mean, silver's down 70% from its all-time high. Sugar's down 70%. I mean, people haven't been rushing out and buying a lot of commodities in recent years. I am not buying them at the moment myself, but you're asking about cheap asset classes. And some countries, I mean, Uzbekistan is very cheap right now. I've made a few investments in Uzbekistan recently, but it's hard to find stock markets or bond markets that haven't been overexploited in the last few years. That's what a long bull market does. People get around to everything eventually. Well, what I have learned about myself is I like to have the feeling that I can sell something. And if you're investing in private equity or venture capital, you cannot sell it. I don't like that feeling, so I have learned enough about myself. I like to think that I can sell whether I can. Or sometimes you invest in some of these illiquid markets, you really can't sell. You think you can.
Yeah.
But no, I basically stay away from venture capital, private markets. In that regard, when I finished college in the 60s, I went to Oxford. I mean, I should have gone to China. I should have gone to Asia. Listen, I had a wonderful time at Oxford. Don't think it wasn't spectacular. And I learned a lot. But if I look back, if I had gone to Asia instead of Oxford, I'd be really rich right now. Well, I regret not buying IBM in 1914 also. And a lot of things I regret that I didn't do. But, I mean, I don't regret, Bitcoin went from $1 to 60,000. Do I wish I had owned it? Of course I do, but I do not know. I do not mind missing things. I've missed many things in my day. And some things I just know it's not for me and I'm not going to buy. And as far as I'm concerned, most of the cryptocurrencies are going to go to zero eventually. Many already have, as you know. Hundreds have already disappeared. They say it's different this time. They say you don't understand, you're too old. I've heard all of this before, the same stories. They call their friends and say it's very exciting. It's not my first time. I've seen this rodeo before. One currency for 5 years, probably the pound sterling. Now I'm just answering off the top of my head because I'm not doing it. Probably the pound sterling. That's the currency that comes to mind. I mean, they're getting themselves into serious trouble in Britain. I don't like seeing it, but the debt is gigantic. It keeps getting worse. They're not solving the problem. They're making the problem. I guess I would say the pound sterling. Okay. If I could think about it this afternoon, I'll send you an email. If I think of another one. Well, in 2050, I would have to say it would be China. China will certainly have problems along the way, but I don't see anybody else. It's not going to be Russia. It's not going to be India in the same league. I mean, China will have. America became the most successful country in the 20th century, but my gosh, we had problems along the way. We had depressions, bankruptcy, civil war. We had many problems, but we became astonishingly successful. China's having problems and they will have more, but I don't see anybody else on the horizon that 30 years from now, 80 years from now, will be as successful as China. Well, if I could go again, I went on a BMW before, but that's because BMWs were the best engineered, and I'm a horrible mechanic. I needed something reliable. But if I were doing it again, I would probably take a Honda because there are Hondas in every country in the world. You know, you can always get service. Getting service on a BMW is hard because they're expensive and exotic to some people. But there are Hondas everywhere. So I guess if I were doing it again, I would probably do it on a Honda because I am a hopeless mechanic, David. I am the world's worst mechanic. I'm the worst market timer, and I'm the worst mechanic. I drove a couple, but I don't have one. I still have gasoline engine automobiles, and so far so good. From what I read, we're all going to have electric cars eventually. And by the way, that is going to cause electric cars, for instance, use 4 or 5 times as much copper as a gasoline car. Yes. So it's going to cause distortions in many commodity markets, lead, lithium, copper, the demand for something. And people have not been opening copper mines in a long time, David, or lead mines. So there will be shifts in demand, which will help a lot of markets.